So we got to do two things on this one, okay? The first thing I got to do is come up with the question or the verbiage or the expression. The textbook says question, so I'm going to say question. All right. So how do I write this expression? Well, I would say, and I'm going to type it so it'll be a little bit easier. My handwriting isn't the greatest. So let's do that. Got to make that noise too. What number? Wait number. What number plus 3 equals 11?
It's 7.
Okay, so that's the first thing. We got to come up with a question. Well, you think so, but you're right. It is 8. This is easy. You could guess and check. But what we're gonna solve for 8. Are you guys ready to solve for 8?
Sure.
Yeah. So there's a way that we do this. So does everybody have this written down before we move to the next part of this thing? All right. So when we this is now we're going to do this is the algebra part of your pre-algebra class. I'm going to say that I'm going to take this expression, which is x plus 3 equals 11. And what I want to do for all of these problems, I want to take x and get it by itself and get all the other stuff on the other side of the equal sign. So I got to think to myself, I want to move this positive 3, right? So if I can move this to the other side of the equal sign, then x will be by itself, right? So the way that I move that is I'm going to do what we call the inverse. Now the inverse, you guys will want to say opposite a lot, but there's a reason Mr. Adams uses the term inverse, because it's important. And we use inverses a lot in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So we look at x plus 3. We look at the left-hand side. What is the 3 doing mathematically to the x? Adding. What's the inverse of adding? Subtracting. So I'm going to subtract 3 from this side. And remember, whatever I do on one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. What's 3 minus 3? 0. What's 0 plus x? X. You had to think about that one. 0 plus x is x. And then what's 11 minus 3? 8. So that's the first one. I'll leave that up there for a second. Make sure you guys can get all that written down. Did you write all this down? Okay, good. You did the first 3. You think this is easy? Well, then I'm going to have to do harder problems than if this is easy. All right, let's move on. Let's do the next one. Well, maybe you can help me.
Can I just write it?
No, just tell me and I'll type it. So what did you have here? Yep, this is, B. What'd you have?
I can get the answer, but I didn't write it down with the word probably.
Oh, well, then you're not taking the notes properly. I'll tell you what it is. You could say something like 16 minus what number
16 minus the number equals 9.
equals 9. Good. Okay. And then we got to think about that. Technically, this is a question, right? So how do I find that answer?
Subtract 16.
Yeah, we got to, first let's write it out.
Subtract 16 on both sides.
Mm-hmm. So I've got, well, it's a little bit more than that, but yeah, you're right. So I've got 16 minus m equals 9. I want to get m by itself. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. Why am I subtracting 16? Because 16 is positive originally. Technically, you're adding 16 to negative m. So to move it, you got to do the inverse of adding, which is subtraction. 16 minus 16 equals 0. What's 0 plus negative m? No, it's negative m. What's 9 minus 16? Negative 7. Now, I said we got to get m by itself and all the other stuff on the other side, but I have a negative m. Is that the same? No. How can I take a negative number and make it positive? Yeah, technically, isn't this negative 1m? Technically, I'm multiplying m by negative 1, so if I'm multiplying by negative 1, what can I do? I can multiply would work too, but I could also divide by negative 1. Now, when I divide by negative 1, these ones, what's negative 1 divided by negative 1?
0.
Nope. Negative 1 divided by negative 1. 1. What's 1 times m? M. Now, what's negative 7 divided by negative 1? Positive 7. Very good. So the answer is technically 7. So I know you think that it's easy, but it's the formality of it is what's hard. All right, here we go. Let's do the next one. Yeah, real quick. All right, so now for this one, how do I write this?
5 times the numbers equals 20.
But we want it to look exactly how we have it. So could I reword it? Could I say like 20 equals 5 times a number? Actually, we want it in the form of a question. So I'm going to say times what number? All right, now for this one, I'm just going to do this one right here because we're starting to run out of room. This is an easy one-step thing. I want to get t by itself, right? What does that 5 in front of the t do mathematically? Multiplying. What's the inverse of multiplying? Division. So I'm going to divide this side by 5, and whatever I do on one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. What's 20 divided by 5?
4.
4. 4. And what's 5 divided by 5? 1. What's 1 times t? T. So we get 4 equals t, or t equals 4, depending on how you want to say it. Okay? How are we doing so far? Do you guys feel like you know this? All right, we got one more to go. For this one, how do I write this one? Order matters, so I have to do, what's the first thing I have to say? Or could I say what number? Well, how about this? Divided by 6 equals negative 3. All right, let's do this one. Oh, I'm getting tired. We just started. All right, here we go. You ready? If I say y divided by 6, I still got to get y by itself. I'm dividing by 6. Oops. If I'm dividing by 6, how do I, what's the inverse of dividing by 6? Multiply. So I'm going to multiply this by 6, and I'm going to multiply this by 6. What is 6 divided by 6? 1. What's 1 times y? Y. What's negative 3 times 6? Negative 18. 4 times 6 is 24. And that's it. That's it right there. Any questions?